Hey, welcome into the Big Ten Huddle. Mike Woodson remains winless versus Northwestern and Chris Collins as Indiana falls to Northwestern. Bright side for Indiana, nobody there was rooting for Mike Woodson to be fired. In fact, the Northwestern fans were rooting for him to be extended. The Wildcats pulled off a 79-70 victory over the Hoosiers. If you're a fan of in-depth basketball recaps, hit the like button, subscribe for more content. We also do live episodes with guests at 10 a.m. on Monday. That's our power rankings episode. And then on 1 p.m. on Friday Eastern time, that's just kind of general news notes, kind of talk through the Big Ten and everything that's going on episode. Don't forget to check out our football channel as well, even though football is over this year and we're not seeing any more of that. We're still going to be keeping up to date, everything going on in the offseason. That link is in the description. The game started out pretty rough for both teams, at least offensively, with turnovers and sloppy play on both sides. Northwestern built an early lead thanks to their hot shooting from Ty Berry, who set the tone with multiple threes. Even though the offense wasn't exactly flowing, Ty Berry was still hitting threes. He went on to lead Northwestern in the entire game with 23 points and hitting a career high 7 3-pointers into the game. Despite this, though, Indiana surged late into the first half at the end of the first half, capitalizing on a Wildcats cold streak. Northwestern failed to score a field goal in the final 9 minutes and 35 seconds of the first half. That's basically the second half of the first half, but that's kind of confusing to say. And Indiana's defense was impressive during that stretch. They got caught up a little bit in off-ball screens, but eventually they were able to counteract that. They were able to get much better at that, and they held Northwestern in that time frame to just 2 free throws overall. At halftime, Indiana held a 31-25 lead with Mackenzie Mbako, Trey Galloway, and Oumar Ballo all scoring at least 6 points or more. Mackenzie Mbako had been struggling in recent games, but was able to find a rhythm and able to finish the night with 20 points overall. However, even though Mackenzie Mbako had a good number of points in the second half did not go the way Indiana wanted it to, as the second half saw a different Northwestern team. They shot a blistering 63% from the field and 64% from three-point range. Their star players struggled in the first half. Brooks Barnhizer, Nick Martinelli, they came alive, and even Jalen Leach added 15 points overall for the team, all in the second half. It was quite the resurgence. Must have been a big speech from Chris Collins in the locker room as Indiana was unable to stop Northwestern's flurry of threes and lost their defensive edge. The Hoosiers did mount a brief comeback late in the second half, cutting the lead to just only 4 points, but Northwestern sealed the game with some clutch free throws down the line. Northwestern got a little conservative at the end of the game there. That's kind of what allowed Indiana to come back, but eventually Northwestern was able to crack down on defense, hit their free throws, and that was game. Like I said, Ty Berry had 23 points and 7 threes in this one. He came off of off-ball screens all night long. Anthony Leal and Mackenzie Mbako had a terrible, just an awful time trying to trail him all night long. They consistently failed to stick with Berry close enough, and both Leal and Mbako both got visibly frustrated on the court with Berry. Mbako nearly tackled Berry on a rebound. Nothing was called, and then he shoved Berry off of him while they were on the ground. There was no foul called or anything like that, but it was evident that Berry was giving Mbako all he could handle, at least on defense, and it was certainly getting to him. Now, after that happened, Mike Woodson correctly brings Mackenzie Mbako out, and Anthony Leal comes in for a few plays later, and he got caught up in a screen with Martinelli, and Leal was proceeding to hit the shot as Leal shoved Martinelli into Berry as he got off his shot. The refs didn't miss this one as it proved to be a costly mistake for Indiana, and Brooks Barnhizer was also excellent in this one. He was costly for Indiana as he had 21 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. Really, it was the Barnhizer, Martinelli, Berry, and Leach show. Martinelli, and Berry combined for 22 of Northwestern's opening 24 points in the second half. For Indiana, Mackenzie Mbako led the team with 20 points, but really the star of the show in this game was Oumar Ballo, who not only scored, he did have 15 points in this game, and he attracted a lot of attention from the defense, but he was able to score and facilitate for others to score as well. He had 15 points, added 7 rebounds, a little uncharacteristic, a little bit of a low rebound total for him, but he did facilitate 7 assists through some impressive passing across the court, sometimes on cutters, a little bit of a touch pass, bounce pass here and there, kind of behind defenders. He was just doing a really good job, and any player that was open, Oumar Ballo was doing a good job of finding them. However, Indiana's 17 turnovers ultimately cost them in this game. Anthony Leal was sloppy with the ball, but Indiana was also just out of sorts with Malik Reneau on the floor. Malik Reneau came back in this game to play. This was his first game back, and there was hardly any spacing in the on the floor to give the room that they needed in the paint. Luke Goody was hitting shots, and he was doing a good job spacing, but Indiana was essentially taking their own pick and roll late into the game, and it was troublesome for them because that's what was working. Next, we're going to look at some pros and cons of both teams, but first, I want to tell you about CBB Analytics. If you're serious about staying ahead of the game, you need CBB Analytics. CBB Analytics isn't just another stat site. You can go to ESPN and get rebounds per game, all that kind of stuff. CBB Analytics is your ultimate destination for in-depth college basketball analysis used by fans, those of you who watch the games, all that stuff, media personnel use it, and the actual college basketball coaches. Yes, you are going to be using the same system that the actual college basketball coaches use. CBB Analytics delivers stats you won't find anywhere else. And not only do they give you stats, they give you graphs, they give you charts. It's a wonderful resource for anybody who likes stats. Not only does it give you turnovers and rebounds per game, but it also provides you with rates for those things as well. Rebounding rate, turnover rate. So you can you can compare performances across different tempos. CBB Analytics is versatile, offering insights for both men's and women's basketball across divisions 1 through 3, dating all the way back to 2018. So use my code HUDDLE Huddle, HUDDLE, for $30 off. You can't find this deal anywhere else. So whether you're prepping for an upcoming game, whether you are reliving an exciting moment from the past, whatever it might be, you can relive it all at cbanalytics.com. Like I said, use code HUDDLE and get yourself $30 off. All right, let's get back to it as we look at some pros and cons of each team's performance. Let's start with Northwestern in this one. Good amount of pros for Northwestern here. If you take out the first half, pretty much everything was a pro for them, but Northwestern overall, they had some fantastic three-point shooting. Northwestern's ability to knock down threes, especially Barry's 7 threes that he was able to hit in the game, was just absolutely game-changing. And not only did that help Barry, but that also helped Leach late in the game, who also added 3 threes. He was 3 for 3 on the floor in the second half. Didn't hit a 3 in the first half, goes 3 for 3 in the second half. As more and more attention was given to Barry, things opened up for everybody else on the floor, made things clear, and their shooting percentage from deep was remarkable. 48% from deep. Another major pro for Northwestern was their overall response, right? I think sometimes people call it like resilience, retaliation. I'm going to go with response in this one. That's what I felt like it was. After a cold stretch in the first half, they bounced back by scoring 54 points in the second half. Their ability to respond from a poor first half with exceptional energy to start the second half was huge. It was noticeable that this team was different, that this team was had a fire lit under their butt, whatever you want to call it. They were different and they were ready to play. Even at times when Indiana would hit shots or make a run, Northwestern had a response every single time. It never looked rattled, and they were just ready to go at all times. A clear con for Northwestern in this one was their points in the paint. Only 18 points in the paint is not sustainable for Northwestern. I know they hit a lot of threes, and I know they were doing a really good job shooting. I get that. But Northwestern needs to find a way to get more baskets at the rim, driving to get fouled, or even just quick second chance opportunities off of offensive rebounds. This is a pretty good offensive rebounding team, but if they're going to get fouled, they must shoot better than 10 for 17 from the free throw line. So right now, Northwestern does struggle getting those points in the paint. They didn't really change anything in this game, but when you're able to have that type of three-point shooting, I get it. This is just something they need to work on in the future. Now, Looking at some pros for Indiana. Mackenzie Mbako, his breakout game after a few not so great games, after some tough games, Mackenzie Mbako found his rhythm again, scoring 20 points and hitting 3 for 7 from behind the arc. Another pro for Indiana in this game was just the overall passing from Oumar Ballo. 7 assists, a season high for Ballo in this one. If Ballo can continue this kind of passing performance off double teams, this can make him just one more way he can really beat you. Oumar Ballo can do so many different things right now to beat you. If he develops this passing into his game, it's going to be really, really dangerous. Some cons for Indiana now are obviously turnovers. Indiana turned the ball over 17 times in this one. A good number of them were unforced, but they allowed Northwestern to score 21 points off those mistakes. That was a key factor in the loss. The other con was the return of Malik Reneau. And I'm not trying to disparage Malik Reneau here because I like Reneau a lot. I think he has a really good game. I think he's really talented. But unfortunately, he and Ballo are just not operating well together right now. He was in for part of Northwestern's run at the end of the game, and it was clear he was trying to find his spot on the floor, especially on offense, and he was not really explosive at all on defense or anything else either. He only played 11 minutes in this game, so it's not like he played 30 minutes. He was out there all the time, and everything looked clunky or anything. And only 2 minutes in the second half, but honestly, I think you give him his minutes in the first half. You see that he really wasn't ready for this, and then you completely cut him off in the second half. Now, I know that's a little harsh, and I know that some people are going to say you got to give Malik time, but this is a game you had to have if you were Indiana. Let's do some takeaways. For Northwestern, the game showed that when their key shooters are on, they are one of the most dangerous teams in all of college basketball. Ty Berry's performance was critical, and if they continue shooting like this, they can compete with any team in the Big Ten. Whether they're on the road, whether they're at home, whatever it is, they can compete with any team in the Big Ten if they're going to shoot like this. For Indiana, the biggest issue is what lineups Mike Woodson's going to put out there. Mike Woodson isn't playing Kaden Carlisle right now very much, but he is playing Anthony Leal a lot. Now, I like Leal. He adds a lot to this team, but 28 minutes is just too many for Anthony Leal. He isn't a top tier minute player. He is great to come in, energize the team, throw him in on defense, and kind of put the other team off and kind of reset some things. Like I think he definitely has a role in this team and he needs to play. But Woodson can't keep playing him like he is, and he also needs to resolve this Reneau and Ballo issue. Reneau did just come back to this game, so I'm not trying to say that Woodson isn't doing a good job with it, but it is something they need to prioritize and they need to fix. Finally, let's look going forward a little bit for each team, right? Let's look at the NCAA tournament and kind of where they stand in the conference and give some analysis there. For Northwestern, they improved to 12-7 overall, 3-5 in the Big Ten. They kind of joined that middle of the pack right there. This win pushes them toward that Big Ten middle of the pack standings where everybody's just kind of locked up together and tied. They're still on the bubble for the NCAA tournament spot right now, but could improve their chances with wins over quad one opponents like Illinois, Wisconsin, Oregon. I believe they also have Ohio State on there as well. Listen, they don't have very many quad one opponents left, and they don't have a whole ton of quad one wins. It's a blessing and a curse because you can rack up some more wins, but if they're not quad one wins, it's going to be hard to dig your way out of this. They don't have many of those chances left, so they'll need to take advantage of the opportunities that they do have left, especially those against like Wisconsin, Ohio State, some teams like that you could catch off. For Indiana, they're 14-6 overall, 4-5 or 5-4 in the Big Ten. Their loss is more concerning with only 2 quad one wins and a tough schedule ahead of them, including games against Maryland, Purdue. I think 8 of their final 11 games are quad one games. They risk slipping further down. If they don't find consistency, they're going to miss the NCAA tournament entirely, which would just be quite honestly a terrible failure for this team after they spent a good amount of NIL investment into these players, into these coaches, trying to get a good, talented team together. That's my thoughts on the game. That's my thoughts on everything moving forward. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more game breakdowns and analysis, everything going on here at the Big Ten Huddle. Join us for our live episode, Power Rankings on Monday at 10 a.m., and then general news and discussion just about the league and interacting with you all in the chat on Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time as well. Don't forget, check out the football channel linked in the description, and I'll see you next time. Thanks so much for watching the Big Ten Huddle.